Elon Musk has now completely deleted everything here, and this is a 180-degree turnaround that is currently shocking the financial markets. What was previously denounced as the biggest financial bomb in financial history is now gone, and this could really shake up the financial markets, but it could be very, very positive for Bitcoin. In addition, there is now a new law that aims to turn Donald Trump's executive order to buy Bitcoin into actual legislation. That would be huge because it would mean that even after Donald Trump, the strategic Bitcoin reserve would still be maintained. There's a new viral commercial from Coinbase that's currently making headlines, and we have new countries that are now adopting Bitcoin, among many other things. Go ahead and hit the like button down below so we can really get this channel moving and spread this important Bitcoin message to even more people, because a lot of folks are still sleeping on it right now. I just need a second from everyone. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but you can really help me out a lot this way, and of course, it helps get the Bitcoin message out there, and the price will shoot up as a result. We're also going to take a look at the whole story about Elon Musk, what he just deleted, why it's so important for Bitcoin and the financial markets, and what it has to do with Donald Trump's new law. But first, here's a quick reminder. Most people will lose all their Bitcoin in this cycle. I'm expecting a prolonged bull market that will really test people's willingness to hold. Only a few will make it, only those who are battle-tested. And this is a statement that's really, really important. It's currently going viral, coming from the Bitcoin therapist. And what he means by this is something I've mentioned many times before, that maybe institutional players are deliberately bringing boredom into the market, creating long sideways phases, minor pullbacks, and so on. Basically, they're trying to suppress the price so that retail investors get washed out of the market, so there's no FOMO, and the big institutions can fill their bags. Of course, he's exaggerating a bit here. Most people aren't going to lose their Bitcoin. Those who are also here on the canal will not lose them anyway. But of course, it's a real warning because a lot of people do end up getting shaken out here. I've seen so many people who said, "Hey Mark, just because you make these videos, I didn't sell and kept holding, and now things are looking really, really good." So don't let yourselves get unsettled here, even if the Bitcoin price isn't currently moving in line with the news. Because right now, we have a major announcement from David Bailey. He's showing 3 flags here: Brazil, South Korea, and the Netherlands. He just posted something nice about the Netherlands, about tulips and so on, and that's meant to symbolize that a company, Nakamoto, has already announced plans to enter new financial markets. He's also talked about Brazil before. In my opinion, this means he's expanding into new markets. For example, we've already covered Japan with Metaplanet and the USA with MicroStrategy. And now, more markets are supposed to be represented by Bitcoin treasury companies. Here we have the CEO of TED, the company, not the most valuable, but the most profitable company in the world, saying that in every respect, Bitcoin should be taught in high school, and that self-custody should also be learned in school. And that's also a big philosophy that I always stand by. That's also one reason why he says that many people will lose their Bitcoin, the Bitcoin therapist, because a lot of people will either keep their Bitcoin on exchanges or, for example, put them into some Bitcoin treasury companies that might be too speculative. Then people just chase after the next big thing, and then the exchange goes down or the company goes bankrupt and so on, and then the Bitcoin are simply gone. And that's why I have a really, really strong recommendation here: self-custody. I'll put a link below to the TREZOR hardware wallet. Super simple, easy, you can manage your Bitcoins yourself, and you're not dependent on a treasury company, an exchange, or anything else. And in my opinion, everyone should do this. This is, the basic principle of Bitcoin, the fundamental building block. And once you've built up a solid position here, then you can start thinking about messing around with treasury companies and whatever else. Or rather, messing around is probably an exaggeration. There are actually some really good approaches here from Strategy, Metaplanet, and so on. But now, let's take a look at Elon Musk before we get to Donald Trump's executive order later, because that's going to be really, really interesting too. We had that huge tweet from Elon Musk. I'll read it out loud again real quick. Time to drop the big bomb here. Real Donald Trump is on the Epstein lists. That's the reason why the Epstein lists haven't been released yet. Have a good day. So what does Donald Trump say about this? And now here's where it gets explosive, and now we see breaking news. Elon Musk has deleted this post. So what's really going on behind this? Is there maybe some secret agenda at play here? Have we been misled? Was this all just one big shit show put on to distract us, maybe to carry out completely different things in the background? I'm also seeing more and more people arguing that this was 5D chess, for example, by Donald Trump, and that this was a huge plot twist. We also saw that the markets were completely shaken up when the news broke that Donald Trump and Elon Musk had fallen out and that Donald Trump is on the Epstein lists. We saw a massive crash downward at first, or, well, maybe not massive, but it did drop by a few thousand US dollars. And of course, if he deletes it now, that's also a sign that maybe things are turning around for the better. JD Vance also said earlier in an interview, hey, they should just talk things out and chill. It makes no sense at all for them to tear each other apart like this. Maybe this is the first step for the two of them to reconcile, and that could definitely be good for the financial markets, because as we've seen, it hasn't been good for the financial markets so far, and it hasn't been good for Bitcoin either. And a reconciliation here, just like a reconciliation with China, would of course be better for the financial markets. But there are also theories out there that say all of this is actually meant to bring the deep state to its knees. What many see as chaos is actually a perfectly coordinated maneuver. Trump and Elon Musk are not playing Ludo. They've mastered Sun Tzu, who wrote the book The Art of War. Now, Elon Musk could just step back for a while. Suddenly, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are cool with each other again. Most people have already forgotten about it anyway. I already told you in yesterday's video, after a week, most people will have forgotten about it. And on the other side, all the left-leaning people are now demanding the release of the Epstein lists, and then it turns out, okay, Donald Trump might have been on there, but he wasn't actually involved in the Epstein files, or maybe he's not even on the list. So, the Epstein files have been released. A whole lot of things would come to light, especially financially. Various transactions, money that changed hands, and so on. Yesterday, there was also an interview with Kash Patel, who said that regarding the Epstein lists, or not even the Epstein lists, but in general with Epstein, that there isn't really any solid evidence, and that the videos have been deleted, and so on. No idea, it's hard to really look into it in detail. You can check it out on Joe Rogan, you can watch it there, so what does conspiracy theory even mean? There are simply different theories out there. Feel free to write your own theory in the comments below. In any case, this means more volatility for the markets, but if they join forces here, it could bring some relief, and that would, of course, be very, very good for the Bitcoin price. And maybe there really is some secret agenda to go after a few people from the deep state, but I'm not exactly sure about that. Elon Musk even said after deleting the posts that he assumes his relationship with Trump is over, and that he has more serious things to do than talk to Elon. So that actually doesn't really fit with the idea that they're making up. But what really does fit is that Musk deleted all the posts, including the negative ones about Trump. There's also a theory that Trump wants to sue him. So I have no idea. To be honest, I don't even know how much more I can speculate here. Now let's take a look at the whole Trump story with the executive order, because there's a new clip about it. And now, apparently, the executive order is actually supposed to be turned into a law. We'll get to Coinbase and that massive clip later. But let's take a quick look at this first.
Hey everybody, Congressman Tim Burchett. Today I'm introducing legislation to codify 3 of President Trump's executive orders. I think it's time that we get off of that gum bench and get to work. Thank you all for sending me here.
That means the executive order would be turned into a law here. That means, for example, even if Donald Trump steps down, the Bitcoin would still be held, and much more. That's why many people say it's so important with the states, because it goes through the legal process, and that's also why the Cynthia Lummis Bitcoin bill is so important, to buy 1 million Bitcoin through the legislative process, so that the next president can't just undo or reverse everything. And this is about Executive Order 14233. And we're still waiting for the Bitcoin purchases, still waiting for the audit to be done, and we're still waiting for the big green light here. And then this could also be a very, very good outcome for Bitcoin in the long run. Because once something is written into law, it can't just be changed so easily. And now, let's see what Coinbase has to say about this. They produced a clip here that really went super viral and, in my opinion, does a very good job of showing what's currently going wrong in our world and where Bitcoin can solve exactly these problems.
In 2012, you needed 30,000 Bitcoin to buy this house.
In 2012, you need 30,000 Bitcoin to buy this house. A decade later, it had only costed 20 Bitcoin. And today, it could be yours for 5. If home prices keep falling in Bitcoin, why do they keep rising in dollars?
In 2012, a house cost 30,000 Bitcoin. A decade later, a house only costs, what was it, 20 Bitcoin. In 2022, it still costs 20 Bitcoin. And now a house only costs 5 Bitcoin. And now here's the big question, the jackpot question for you. If prices in Bitcoin keep getting lower, if it keeps getting cheaper to buy a house with Bitcoin, why does it keep getting more expensive in dollars? And that's the really, really big jackpot question. And anyone who can answer this question has truly understood Bitcoin, and also understands why it doesn't make sense to save in fiat money, and why it's getting harder and harder for young people to buy real estate. Why fewer and fewer people in our age group, or my age group, own property. I don't know many people who own real estate either, because property prices are just rising faster than salaries can keep up, and so on. And that's why it becomes very, very difficult unless you go into debt for 2 generations or something like that. And that's the power of Bitcoin. The standard of living measured in Bitcoin keeps getting more affordable. So, if you want to buy a property, you shouldn't save up in dollars, but maybe in Bitcoin instead. And if you want a property later on, then just swap your Bitcoin for a property at some point, or use your Bitcoin as collateral and buy a property with that. That would actually be the smarter move, although of course, this is not financial advice. That's just something you need to keep in mind. These are basic mechanisms you need to understand. And a lot of people say things like, yeah, all these greedy landlords, we need rent controls, rent caps, we need more social housing and all that stuff. That's all nonsense. The fiat money system is broken. When we have a crumbling fiat money system, what happens? Speculators move into real estate instead of keeping their money in fiat currency. What happens? Real estate prices go up. Speculators sometimes hold onto properties without even renting them out because there are very, very strict rental laws in Germany. You can't get rid of the landlords and so on. That means they don't even want anyone actually living in the house. They don't really want to rent it out either. They just want a store of value. So we have a lot of living space that